Through the power of self-choice, we are free to engage in positive thinking. We are also free to engage in negative thinking. Positive thinking is direct and affirmative. Negative thinking usually reduces our expectations as we begin to ponder the worst possible scenarios. And negative and positive thinking are simply two ways of utilizing the same mind. Positive thinking moves us towards our objective without fear or hesitation. Negative thinking, on the other hand, finds the worst in everything. I'm sure some of you have experienced people that are like that. So in the past 3 weeks, I've experienced ghosts, dragons, and goblins. Oh my. And goblins are mischievous, ugly creatures who supposedly live in grottos. They attach themselves to different households. They bang upon pots and pans. They move the furniture around while you're sleeping. They snatch your pajamas. And then they bang on the walls and the doors and flee. And they must have been present this past Monday because we got lost in the Jemez Mountains. There were 4 of us on the journey. 2 stayed behind and 2 kept going. And even though we passed the gully where we were supposed to turn off onto the path to see the goblins, we had an incredibly deep, enlightening conversation. And I sent an email the following day to the gal that was on that journey with me, thanking her for sharing that sacred time. And I got an email back from her saying that she wouldn't have been able to complete the journey without the conversation. So when our hearts are open and we are aligned within the presence and we can recognize that presence in others, expansive possibilities through gratitude, which is the title of my talk this morning, happen through us. Fear, darkness, dragons, goblins, all vanish by the positive principle of love and gratitude. And at the end of the day, when we finally made it back to the car and we were all reunited, we found out that the 2 that were waiting for us had almost gone to the ranger station because we were really delayed. And we decided that we would celebrate the gratitude of life with blue bunny ice cream cones. Yum! So externalizing the thoughts and the ideas that we have accepted, sometimes for others, more than ourselves, can result in an instantaneous demonstration. Many of you know that before I became a minister, I was a hairdresser, which was incredible training for this purpose. And I was working in a salon on the west side, and there was a young woman who had expressed an interest in science of mind, and I was starting to tutor her a little bit. And she was giving me a pedicure, and she cut me, and I was bleeding. And I could see how distressed she was. So I instantaneously healed myself. Through my intuitive discernment of the situation, the demand that I placed upon the universe was a higher choice. It wasn't necessarily sensible or pragmatic, because then she was even more animated. But the work isn't about comfort or convenience. It's about stretching our spiritual muscle. It's about standing in the truth of what is possible when we operate within the one mind. The opening song from the Righteous Brothers. And I'm telling you, honey, you are the reason for laughing, for crying, for living, and for dying. Many are unaware of that force that is within them. Without demonstration through all of us, what good are we? We're here to show the power and the presence, to demonstrate what it does through us. And that takes deep faith and courage and gratitude. And when we show that and we share that with others, it comes back to us. Shaken together, pressed down, and running over are the gifts of God. But we can only receive if we're giving from the heart. If our intentions serve the greater good, they become manifest in our experience. And developing our consciousness of giving is a great way to test the principles of this teaching. The law always works, especially when it works by appearing not to work. So what are you thinking? What is it that you believe? Dr. Ernest Holmes, who of course is the founder of the Science of Mind teaching, says that right action will be compelled through right knowing. So it's up to us to examine what is within our subjective belief system. Every thought, whether it's limited or expansive, is automatically acted upon by the law of mind. Even when we withhold, the law still gives. It just gives based upon what we command it to do. And there are essentially two paths that we can walk. One is to focus upon the outward choices, or what I like to call living from the land of effect. So we get busy moving things around out there. We get a new job. We get a new boyfriend or girlfriend. We move to a new city. We get a diploma. We do something that shifts things around in the material world. And the second potential path that we can walk is to focus upon inward choices, or what I like to call living from the land of cause. And that is where we take responsibility for what is happening in our world. Through prayer, through meditation, journaling, communing with Mother Nature. Whatever it is that allows us to pursue higher outcomes, living from within the spiritual realm. And even when we are engaged in the human experience and we find ourselves being influenced by what's out in the material world, as spiritual beings, we are always compelled at a deeper level to express who we are as the divine. And it is inevitable that we will eventually reason our way back to the truth. No one and no thing stands between us and our good except our own thoughts. The motto of this entire teaching: change your thinking, change your experience. Dr. Holmes, regardless of how much you may feel you know about the nature of God, it only reveals the more that is to be known. And this is the gift of life. Every idea that we can imagine has within it the potential of fulfillment. And it happens in amazing ways. And I love the synchronicity of the universe. On Wednesday, in our study group, we were trying to decide what we were going to work on for this coming week. And the focus turned to expansive possibilities through gratitude, which just happened to be the title of my talk this morning. So we're working on a greater awareness of gratitude through the 5 senses of sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. And I encourage you in the coming week to focus upon those senses, to really engage in a greater knowing around that. Luck, chance is never involved. We place a demand upon the universe through our thoughts. The law goes into action. And even complete strangers can move into the picture so that we can receive what we ask for. Within the truth of oneness, all our destinies are intertwined. What serves the greatest good is merely a play of the Great Spirit upon itself. Our work is to maintain a new pattern of belief that supports whatever we can imagine. God in me, God as me, God is me. Each of us possess the qualities of spirit. And it is our divine birthright to be happy, to be prosperous, to be loved, to be loving, to have open avenues of creativity. And as we work on expanding our possibilities through gratitude, it's important to ask ourselves if we are in integrity with those around us. If we can grasp a greater idea of what is possible through that one mind. And so Thursday morning, I began to focus upon the 5 senses in my morning practice. And when I set the talisman on the shelf that I work with, it literally flew off and onto the ground. So there was a greater awareness of sight as well as sound. And the talisman was given to me by a very dear friend who shared a private bowl session with me. And her testimony is actually on the back page of your Sunday program. She had an incredible breakthrough. And she called me about a month later and invited me to lunch. And she handed me the wing of a great blue heron. And I work with that every day in my spiritual practice. And the great blue heron stands in the water while it's feeding, which reflects a connection to the earth, as well as implying the exploration of another dimension, which is water. And water metaphysically represents spirit. Herons are known for following their own innate path of wisdom through self-determination. They move aggressively towards opportunities. We should do the same thing when we're given guidance. We know at a heart level what is best for us. If, on the other hand, we follow limited concepts, like we heard in the lyrics of the opening song, I never had much going, but at least I had you. How can I walk out knowing? How can you walk out knowing I ain't got nothing left if you do? We need to progress beyond that. We need to make a new choice that lifts our gaze to a higher level of truth, that asks the question, what good am I? And is able to answer, the spirit of life shines through me. The principle of life is eternal within me. The essence of gratitude creates through me. The heron has long legs, which are a symbol of balance and the ability to stand on our own, while at the same time exploring a deeper connection to Mother Earth as well as Spirit. So is our consciousness aligned with the divine? Are we using the power of the one mind in integrity? Do our actions support the greater good? With guidance through the transformation of the soul towards the light of divine love and wisdom, expansive possibilities through gratitude become our soul and our heart's inspiration. Thank you, and namaste.